Hi everyone, welcome to the first episode of Eco Cosmetics Lab. In this episode, we're going to be exploring the biodiversity of the temperate rainforest we live in and take a deep dive into western red cedar. Then back in the lab, we'll make a microbiome balancing toner with western red cedar hydrosol and other moisturizing factors. So let's get started. Before we go any further, I would just like to acknowledge that the lands we currently reside on are the unceded territories of the Coast Salish people, including the Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam. There's work being done to acknowledge and repair damage in the past so that we may move forward into the future as a melting pot of different cultures that makes this area so rich and diverse, while still honoring the First Nations history and values. Learning to coexist together not only as humans, but with everything, all the animals and all the biodiversity in this temperate rainforest that we call home. The Pacific Northwest has many characteristic trees, such as western hemlock, Sitka spruce, Douglas fir, and Nootka falls cypress. Today we'll be focusing on the western red cedar. So the western red cedar is the provincial tree of British Columbia. Its Latin name is Thuya placata. Thuya comes from the Greek thuon, which refers to an odoriferous African tree whose resin was used as incense in ceremonies. The specific name placata comes from the Latin placare, and it refers to the overlapping scales of leaves, which you can see here. The leaves are shiny green on top and have small white stripes on the underside. To identify this tree, you can look for the cones, which are small, narrow, oval shape and cluster near the end of the branch. They sit on top of the branch bent backwards towards the main trunk and have 4 to 6 pairs of thin, spiny scales and produce around 6 seeds per cone. The seeds are so small that the forest animals overlook them, so many of the seeds survive germination. It is also capable of vegetative reproduction, as fallen branches sometimes develop roots. They are forest giants and can grow 200 feet tall. To get an even better sense of the properties of this tree, you can crush some of the leaves in your hand. They have a strong spicy aroma that some say is similar to pineapple. The western red cedar is the provincial tree of British Columbia and has been the cornerstone of Northwest Coast Indigenous culture, with some tribes reportedly called the people of the red cedar. They would make all kinds of items using red cedar, including dugout canoes, clothing, baskets, and housing. The specific property we are focusing on today is the Hinokitial contained within the tree. There are temples in Japan still standing for hundreds of years due to the antibacterial and fungicidal properties of the wood. It's one of the longest-lived conifers, and if left undisturbed, can live over 1,000 years. Before we head into the lab and make a microbiome balancing toner using western red cedar hydrosol, let's take a look at what exactly the microbiome is. Micro means small, and biome means life. So the pH of the skin is between 4 and 6. It's called the acid mantle, and it helps regulate the amount of microorganisms that are able to live on our skin. So you might find it really disconcerting, but right now on your skin, we have colonies of bacterium, fungus, virus, and mites, so tiny they cannot be seen by the naked eye. Our body is a superorganism of cohabitating cells, bacteria, fungi, and most numerous of all, viruses. Biologists estimate that 380 trillion viruses are living on and inside your body right now, quietly lurking. While some are associated with disease, others can help fight illness. The viral microbiome is called the virome. One of the main roles of interaction between our own skin and cells and virus are protection. So what is the skin barrier? The skin is our largest organ, and it protects us by keeping the good stuff in and the bad stuff out, i.e. pathogens and other external aggressors, chemicals, etc. When your skin barrier is functioning at its optimal, your skin should look great and have a wonderful glow. However, if it's compromised, you'll start to see issues such as dryness, redness, irritation, and acne. Acne arises for a multitude of reasons, but compromised skin barrier is one of them contributing factors. So a lot of times, especially with excessive skincare regimens, we can do more harm than good. And if you strip away the microbiome and the natural oils, ceramides, etc., that can result in making your skin extremely unhappy. The skin microbiome consists of selected microbes, which function to keep their home hospitable. So the skin commensal microbes have chosen to evolve and survive in this unique niche. So depending on the area of the body, we see different growth patterns, i.e. oily, moist, dry, and in-between foot webbing. So our skin is poor in nutrients, high in salt, and scarce in carbon sources. So these conditions do not allow the majority of bacteria to grow. Acne bacteria, which was called P. acnes, has been renamed to Cutibacterium, which is actually not cute at all. In addition to our skin microbiome, we have microbiomes in our mouth, eyes, and gut. One of the main roles of interaction between our own skin, cells, and virus are protection. So after washing your hands, the microbiome returns within about 8 hours, and 24 hours later it's back entirely. The microbiome doesn't like to be gone long, so they sit down in the follicles, sweat glands, pores, and so they begin to reestablish after about 8 hours. It's a huge part of skin health, and mild surfactants don't harm the skin microbiome. Understanding the microbiome could be a paradigm shift in terms of how we care for our skin. So the prebiotics are food consumed by the beneficial members of the microbiome, i.e. S. epidermidis. Probiotics are the beneficial bacteria themselves. So now let's get into the lab and make a microbiome balancing toner with Western Red Cedar Hydrosol. So the first step is we're going to be adding our sterilized water. Make sure it's not tap water. The next step is to add the Western Red Cedar Hydrosol, and I get this from Ravensong Seeds and Herbals on Vancouver Island. So Western Red Cedar is often referred to as the tree of life. It's been used by ancient civilizations to treat many ailments. Cedar is a crisp, woodsy, and aromatic scent that carries powerful medicinal properties. We're using this today as our microbiome balancer. Next up is the aloe vera extract, and it actually comes as a powder, and so you add this to water to dilute it. And so I'll be adding the diluted mixture that I made because I have a 200 times concentrate. It comes in different forms. There's 100 times concentrate as well. And I'm adding 5% of this today. And next up is a hyaluronic acid serum. And this again comes as a powder that I've made into a liquid. It actually turns into a gel. It's you see how viscous that is there? Yeah, so when you add it to water, it turns into a gel. And I'm also adding this at 5%. And so you just want to stir that around. Make sure it's incorporated. Next up is a humectant. So this is propanediol 1,3. So propanediol 1,3 is a natural green propylene glycol alternative derived from corn sugar, used as a humectant and a skin conditioner, preservative booster, and solvent with a light, non-sticky, slightly dry skin feel. It increases hydration when used in hair and body products. We're using it today at 3%. It also can help boost the efficacy of preservatives. Next up, I'm going to be adding some sodium lactate. So sodium lactate is a multifunctional ingredient commonly used in cosmetics and skincare products. It can help improve the stability of the formulation, but also has added benefit of pulling water-based moisture into the skin. It's a preservative enhancer, buffering agent, and humectant moisturizer. Sodium lactate is also a natural component of the top layers of the skin and functions as part of the natural moisturizing factor. The NMF consists of amino acids, sugars, and electrolytes that help to keep the skin's surface intact, supple, and hydrated. Next up, I'm going to be adding some Olive M300. So Olive M300 is a water-soluble functional lipid with sebum-recovering activities. It's an ester with strong emolliency and lubricant properties that offers distinctive skin smoothness and long-term moisturizing effects. It provides emolliency and mildness to formulations. It's got a high degree of biodegradability, over 90%. And we're adding that at 2% today. So just give that a stir. Next up is one of my favorite ingredients. It's called sea kelp bioferment. And it's like a gel, it's a gelatinous fermented sea kelp. Active, and it provides a nice moisture barrier on the skin. I don't like to use too much of this because it can feel a bit tacky, so today we're using this at 3%. But see how gelatinous that is? And I find sometimes it has a hard time breaking down, so make sure you stir it a lot to make sure it's all dissolved. So sea kelp bioferment is produced by fermentation of bull kelp, harvested from the Atlantic coast of North America using the bacteria Lactobacillus. You've likely heard of this bacteria as it's also used to produce yogurt and other foods. The fermenting process breaks down the cellular tissue of the kelp leaf, which increases the bioavailability of the naturally occurring chemical compounds and vital nutrients found in large amounts in kelp. So sea kelp bioferment is a natural film former. It acts as an oil-free moisturizer. It can be used full strength, but I find it a bit sticky, so I only am using it at 3%. So next up, the ingredient I'm using is called hemptine Z. It's hydrolyzed cannabis sativa extract, and it's a multi-active natural and superfood-derived protein from hemp seeds for skin and hair. It's easy to formulate and water-soluble. Sourced from organic hemp seeds, hemptine Z restores epidermal homeostasis for more vibrant, smoother, and healthier skin. I'm adding this at 2% today, and you can tell that it has the darker color, so it's coloring the toner, but since I'm putting this in opaque bottles, you won't see that. So the preservative I'm using today is Euxyl PE9010. It features strong broad-spectrum efficacy. It's mild in a liquid blend, ideal solution for transparent gels, and it's gentle on the microbiome. So its usage levels are 0.5 to 1%, and I'm going to be adding it at 0.5% today, as I'm also going to be adding a bit of GeoGuard ECT, which is another natural preservative. So now we just want to keep stirring that and make sure everything's well incorporated. You can still see some of the blobs of the sea kelp bioferment. And now we're just going to check on the pH. And I'm going to add a little bit of GeoGuard ECT, which contains acids, salicylic acid and ascorbic acid. So that'll bring the pH down a bit, as it's at 6.2, but I want to get it around 6. So you'll notice once I've added that the pH is starting to go down. So yeah, I was looking for a pH between 5.5 and 6. So yeah, 5.95 is good. So now we're going to get our vessel, and this has a nice little clip for the top so that it, oh, there it goes. It's a little tricky to use, but yeah, it's so that it doesn't press down when you're traveling. But yeah, it kind of flew off there. So now and I doubled this formula, so I timesed everything by 2, because I'm going to do two bottles. And I like to actually shake it up after when it's in the bottle. The sea kelp bioferment, it helps to, so I wasn't paying attention and filled it up a little bit too much. Okay, now to put on the labels. So yeah, I just like to print these out, and you want to put all the ingredients and the date and the pH. So I'm not using the Latin names, I'm just using the regular names so that I understand what I put in. But yeah, officially you're supposed to use the Latin names. And so you want to make sure that's clean, and I already got a little bit of water on it, so I'm going to put some tape on it after so that it doesn't get, so that the water doesn't make the ink run. And just try and get that as even as possible. And there you go. And now you have a nice Western Red Cedar Microbiome Balancing Toner that's healthy for your skin. And you could give the other one away as a gift. So yeah, now I'm just to make sure it's water safe, watertight, I'm going to add some tape over top. And it's kind of tricky to do this in front of the camera, so it's... but yeah, just smooth that out so that there's no bubbles, and there you go. So now we're done, and we have an amazing Western Red Cedar Toner. It smells really good. You can also add other hydrosols in there if you like. I make a nice blend with basil and lemongrass, and that's really nice too. But yeah, I really highly recommend the Western Red Cedar Hydrosol. It smells so good, and it's really good for your microbiome. So there we go. We're all done. Thanks for coming with me on this journey, everyone. I hope you enjoyed learning about Western Red Cedar and the microbiome. See you in the next episode. For downloading the formula and any more information and links to suppliers, you can go to ecocosmeticslab.com.